And now to weigh in on this conversation, we are now joined by Chief of Mvezo and activist Zwelivelile Mandla Mandela, and he joins us now via our video link. Mr. Mandela, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Let's start off here. What is your reaction to the latest move from South Africa to expel Israel's diplomat, of course, citing issues of violating diplomatic norms and insulting President Cyril Ramaphosa, also due to protocol breaches?
Well, we welcome the step that has been undertaken by DECO and our government for expelling the Israeli diplomat. It is long overdue, as many of us as activists have been calling for the Israeli ambassador to be expelled and the total shutdown of the Israeli embassy. But I must say that this is a bold step on part of our government, which reaffirms our unwavering sovereign resolve and underscores South Africa's commitment to defending its independence and the rule of law.
And Mr. Mandela, what do you make of, some of the comments and criticisms where some are saying, well, there are other bigger matters to deal with in the world, unlike expelling this Israeli diplomat?
Well, there's a simple rule of law that if you are in one's country, you must respect the sovereignty of that country and its independence, and you must abide by the diplomatic rules. And this has been violated by the Israeli diplomat. And I think DECO has taken the right step by expelling the Israeli diplomat out of South Africa.
And we've since seen, this tit for tat, where we've now seen that the diplomat for South Africa has now since been expelled from that country. What do you make of this subsequent retaliation from Israel?
It is to be expected. I mean, every dying horse, as it comes to its end, it will dealt the highest blow. But we must be clear as South Africans that we will not cower before any immense international pressure. And we want to make it clear that as activists on the ground in support of our government, we will not back down, nor waver in our ideals. Having fought and overcome apartheid, we will not tolerate renewed disrespect or a new form of colonization. And therefore, we call on our citizens right across the country to rally behind DECO and rally behind our government and ensure that we stamp our sovereignty and independence.
At the same time, we also saw today, while this was taking place, there was a protest outside of the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Houghton. And of course, this was done by those calling themselves the Friends of Israel, and subsequently seeing supporters of Palestine coming there to defend, the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, or chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, that being a former minister, Naledi Pandor, and criticizing her role in the Nelson Mandela Foundation. What is your reaction to that protest? I mean, at the same time, a number of South Africans know the position of former President Nelson Mandela and what he stood for when it comes to the people of Palestine.
Well, we must first and foremost welcome Mama Naledi Pandor's appointment as the chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. And we as a family and many across the country understand the work that is cut out for her in terms of upholding Madiba's legacy. And we all know that the founding father of our nascent democracy was fully behind the Palestinian cause. On numerous occasions, he has regarded the Palestine as the greatest moral issue of our time. And therefore, what Mama Naledi Pandor has been doing is to reaffirm Nelson Mandela's position and to ensure that that legacy continues to be a voice of the most vulnerable and oppressed nations right across the globe. Palestine is one of those countries.
And Mr. Mandela, there was another major criticism coming in, and of course this pertaining to King Zwelivelile Mandla's visit to Israel. What are your views when it comes to his stance in terms of what is taking place between the people of Palestine and Israel?
Well, we all know that one of our fundamental rights is a free movement to all our citizens, and the need to also be able to have the right of association with any. But I think in this regard, history will judge His Majesty King Zwelivelile Mandla. As we know that the Israeli regime is backed by the imperialist colonial regimes such as the United States of America and the United Kingdom, those that stood against us during apartheid and supported the apartheid regime right to the heat. You would recall that Ronald Reagan on part of the USA and Margaret Thatcher on part of the UK supported the apartheid regime. And therefore, if you stand by Israel, you stand by those imperialist regimes that continue to effect regime change and exploit poor nations right across the globe.
Mr. Mandela, thank you so much for your time. That's Chief of Mvezo, an activist, Zwelivelile Mandla Mandela, just reacting there to that developing story and, of course, that pertaining to the tensions between South Africa and Israel.